Okay, so here we go. Something a little bit different for the channel. Now this is the following list will be my top 100 games of all time. And the following list has taken me months, literally months, to compile. I'm kind of happy with it. Well, I am happy with it. Not kind of. I was kind of happy with it last night. I've spent even more time on it since then. Now I'm happy. I'm 99.999% happy with it. Kind of. Anyway, yeah, let's get to this thing, guys. I'll play some footage from time to time from various games or videos of the games we've covered over the years on this channel, so you'll see them playing as well. I got my Google Sheets open here. Do bear with this bright screen. I hope it's not too bright for you. And I was considering doing this as a tier maker, but it was just a pain in the backside to get going because of the thumbnails or the cover art for the games. Let's get into this. So, number 100 here. We're going to go from the bottom in reverse up to number 1. My favourite game of all time, so hang around for that. Hopefully this video won't be too long, and hopefully it won't get too tedious. So pause the video now, make yourselves a cup of tea, or pour yourselves a beer, and here we go. So, 100, RoboCop. Specifically the ZX Spectrum version, a left-to-right shooter, or a side-scrolling shooter with other, little bits tacked on here and there in regards to level design. You get, a little first-person shooty types of modes, and it's a really cool game. Most of you probably would have played it, or the older gamers out there will have tried this. I don't want to spend too much time on every single game, because again, I don't want this video to get too drawn out and boring, but RoboCop kicks us off here. Next up is, drumroll, Broken Sword, The Shadow of the Templars. Specifically, the PlayStation 1 version is what I played. I played the hell out of it. Never finished it, got to the end. Found it quite frustrating in places, but it's an incredible video game. It's one of those point-and-click games where you can actually die, which is quite unusual. You don't have lives, but you have to restart certain sections. Brilliant game. Apparently, we're getting a remake this year, or a reboot. So yeah, check it out if you haven't played it. It's really cool. Next up, number 98 on the list, Golden Axe. Golden Axe, the arcade version rather than the Mega Drive version. I played a lot of Mega Drive version, but the arcade version is the best version, of course. Just, yeah, memories, lots of memories. And I forgot to mention at the top of the video, some of the games in this list, you'll be like, Chorizo, what are you smoking today? Why is this on the list? Because some of these games will be memories for me, and I would have spent a lot of hours with said game, so that's why they'll be on here. I think this is a good list of games, but obviously it's personal preference. I do want you guys to get involved and let me know what you think of this list. But anyway, yeah, Golden Axe, number 98. Number 97 is Donkey Kong, again, the arcade. I used to play a lot of this back in the day. This has to be on everyone's top 100 games list. Well, if you're from the era I'm from, you wouldn't have it on your list if you were, born in 2000, I guess. Donkey Kong just, yeah, we all know what it did. It went on to influence millions and millions of platformers and that kind of thing we've had since. It's an incredible game. Even to this day, it's still fun to play. Number 96, Final Fantasy VII, PS1. Now, I'm not a lover of turn-based combat video games. Well, I say I'm not a lover, I don't like them. But Final Fantasy VII was different. It blew me away, the whole atmosphere of the game. It felt huge to me at the time. I've gone back recently and featured the game on the channel. That's the footage you'll see here, actually. And yeah, it doesn't feel as big as I remember it being. But this game was all about the story and the characters. And like I say, that steampunk or cyberpunky universe that you got to run around. And it's so good. I still prefer the old PS1 version to the remakes that we've had recently. Next up, number 95, Formula 1 97, one of the best F1 games of all time. This is memories, lots of memories for me. It's still fun to play today. It's a little bit rough graphically, but still loads of fun to play. The commentary from the legendary Murray Walker needs to be on this list. Next up, number 94, Dark Souls 3. You'll probably see a lot of Dark Souls games on this list. Dark Souls 3, some would argue, should be higher up compared to the other Dark Souls games. It's my least favourite, but it's still very good. I've actually gone through and completed this game twice. It's a bit more fast-paced than the original Dark Souls games which come before it. Still very, very good. Loads and loads of fun. Quite difficult, but not as difficult as the games that come before it. Lemmings. So the Amiga version of Lemmings always comes to mind for me. That's where I spent all my time with Lemmings. I must have played this for too many hours. After school, instead of doing my homework, Lemmings. Just one more go of Lemmings, just one more level, one more stage. Incredible video game. Number 92, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec. So this is more memories for me than it being a particularly brilliant game, even though it is a really good racer. I bought the PS2 bundle, which, yeah, had this included with it, and had the big red PlayStation box with the big Gran Turismo logo on it and the Sony PlayStation logo. It was all very cool. It blew me away. And I needed to have a Gran Turismo game on this list, and for me, this is still the best Gran Turismo. Again, nostalgia clouding my judgment here, but Gran Turismo 3 is a brilliant racer in its own right. Next up is Bad Dudes vs. Dragon Ninja. I've played this on nearly every system, from the NES to the arcade, and it's best played in the arcade, of course. Loads of memories. Used to pump this full of 10p coins. Just a brilliant, brilliant brawler, and one of my favourite arcade games. Next up, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Everyone knows this game. Everyone's played this game. I've actually played it a bit more recently because it got really busy, or the Xbox 360 version got really busy. I played loads of this. I'm sure most of you have. Brilliant online, really good single player mode. One of the best first person shooters around, in my opinion. Has to be on the list. Resident Evil on the PS1. Rough to play today, guys. It hasn't aged well. I don't think it has. Still incredibly scary to me. The remake or the HD remaster of it was very, very good. I absolutely love Resident Evil. And of course, it spawned tons of survival horror games. And it has to be on my top 100 list. A lot of memories as well because of the PS1 and Resident Evil. I think coming out around the same time as the PS1 hit our shops. So yeah, Resident Evil needs to be on here. Next up, at number 88, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now, I first played Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, and it's very, very good on there. But I picked it up for the Switch at Christmas, or rather my brother bought it for me. Big shout out to Matt. And it's incredible. It's so much fun to play. One of the best Mario Kart games of all time, easily. There might be another Mario Kart game or 2 or 3 on this list, but this has to be on my top 100 because it is so, so good. So Mario Kart 8 on the Switch. Next up at number 87, Elden Ring. I hear gasps in the audience. Anyone who knows my gaming or my love of From Software games would probably wonder why this isn't way higher, because it's probably my least favourite, or one of the least favourite FromSoft games. Dark Souls 3 slightly worse than this. I say worse, all these games are good. They're in the top 100 of all time. Elden Ring, when I first started playing it, was breathtaking. I was blown away, but the grind is real. Towards the end of the game, I was exhausted. I did finish it. It took me 130 odd hours to finish it. Extremely punishing. Some of the bosses are a bit OP, I think anyway, but has to be on this list. It's an absolute masterpiece of a game. Little bit rough around the edges in regards to its technical performance, or it was for me on PS5. Doesn't really get the smooth 60 frames per second that I like with FromSoft games or expect from them. But anyway, yeah, Elden Ring has to be on here. Next up is Halo 2. So I'll let you guys know straight away, this is the only Halo game to appear on the video. It's the only Halo game that I absolutely love and have a lot of memories with. Yes, Halo Combat Evolved was the first ever Halo game I played. Like many of you watching this on the Xbox, when I bought the Xbox, it was bundled with Halo. But Halo 2 is the better game. It's a more refined version, and it's also got a lot of memories for me when it comes to online. I loved playing Halo 2 online, so it has to be on this list. Next up, so number 85. We're getting through these games, guys. Demon's Souls, another From Software entry. I played Demon's Souls way later in its life. I got to put my hands up. The first time I played Demon's Souls properly, and I played it through, I completed it, I finished all the FromSoft games, I'm proud to say that, was on the PS5, Demon's Souls Remastered, which is gorgeous. 60 frames per second, buttery smooth. You need 60 frames per second in FromSoft games, in my opinion. Brilliant game. A little bit vague in places. Just, it's a masterpiece, in my opinion. And obviously the very first Souls game, which spawned all of the Souls-likes that we still get today, which are still hugely popular, like the Lies of P, etc. Demon's Souls has to be on my top 100. Next up, number 84... Fallout New Vegas. In my opinion, one of the best Fallout games because of the writing. I think the dialogue and the writing in Fallout New Vegas is exceptional. Your choices have consequences. I felt like they dumbed down the Fallout games after New Vegas. I know it's a different studio. Am I right in saying Obsidian developed Fallout New Vegas? It was a different studio, wasn't it, for the other Fallout games? I'm not too sure, but New Vegas has to be on my top 100 games of all time. Next up is FIFA 14. Now, I toyed with the idea of this being way higher up, but we'll get to the other FIFA games later. FIFA 14, one of the best FIFA games of all time. I'm talking about PS4 version. It was one of the first games on the PS4 I played. It might be the first game I played on the PS4. Loads of late nights with Dave. Big shout out to Dave, playing FIFA 14. To this day, it still plays a magnificent game of football. The single player career is really good. Online, it was a lot of fun as well. Even in normal speed, it's just nice. There's a nice pace to it. Everything just feels right. And the series progressively got worse, in my opinion. It declined after FIFA 14. Incredible football game. Next up on the list, number 82... Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Expect to see quite a few GTA games on here because Rockstar know how to make good video games. Some of you guys would be like, Mike, surely GTA San Andreas needs to be higher up in your 100. No, because I loved stuff about San Andreas. It just didn't grip me like some of the other GTA games did in regards to its story. I felt like I'd seen it all before. Now, I was a big fan of movies like Boys in the Hood and Friday and that kind of thing when I was a younger man. I found that the writing and the characters in San Andreas was a little bit too over the top. I know Rockstar lean into the satire, but they went crazy, in my opinion, of course. All of this is my opinion. They went crazy for San Andreas. I found some of the characters just unlikable. I guess they're supposed to be, but it just didn't grab me like some of the other GTA games did. Still an incredible game. I love the RPG mechanics where you could eat and put on weight or lose weight, work out at the gym. Absolute brilliant game. Next up is Batman the movie. So I'm thinking of the ZX Spectrum and maybe the Amiga version as well. They're the two versions I've played and completed. I always remember the Christmas of 1989, there you go, I'm showing my age there, where my parents bought me this because Tim Burton's Batman the movie had just hit the cinemas and I had the soundtrack, which was made by Prince. I had the games, I had the tattoos. I didn't have the tattoos, my mum wouldn't let me. But yeah, Batman the movie, just a brilliant video game. Number 80, Actual Golf. I don't think this has aged well, this game. Dave and I went back to it recently. Still a lot of fun, a lot of memories. The great Peter Alice on the commentary blew me away when I had this on the PS1. I actually took my PlayStation console to my granddad's because he was a big lover of playing golf. He was actually good at the sport himself. And he did not like video games. As soon as he played Actual Golf with me, he was sold. He wanted a PS1. So there's a lot of memories with this game for me. Like I say, brilliant commentary, the sound effects in it, the birds chirping in the trees. Good memories, good video game. Next up, number 79, Streaker on the ZX Spectrum. Some of you guys would be like, Mike, what the hell is this? Streaker? Streaker's a weird game. I'll show you it, guys. Let's see. I've got a tab that I saved earlier. So, big shout out to RZX Archive. Fantastic YouTube channel. This is 11 years old now, this video, but they've done a playthrough of this. I can't actually find it. I haven't got this game. So, yeah, like I say, big shout out to this channel here. Let's see a little bit of this gameplay. So you start out as this dude, naked, basically, and you have to go through the levels and find... There he is, he's lost his clothes. You have to go through the stage. I say levels, it's one big open world, and you've got to find his clothes. One of the first ever home computer games I played, guys. Reminds me of the Christmas of 1985, 86. We're going way back, of course. But this game was ahead of its time because, look, I don't know if you can see my mouse cursor. I think OBS is capturing it. You've got days of the week. Ooh. But you've got a day and night cycle, which was ahead of its time. And you can only visit specific shops and that kind of thing in this game at certain times. You have to memorize when establishments open and close and that kind of thing. It blew my mind. This is an old-ass game now. But anyway, yeah, Streaker has to be on here. I'm glad we had a segment about this game. And like I say, guys, head over and subscribe to RZX Archive. Fantastic YouTube channel. Next up, let's have a look. What's here? I can't remember. Final Fight, number 78. You all know Final Fight. One of the best brawlers around, in my opinion, although I do think there is a better brawler than Final Fight. Has to be on here. SNES version I played the most of. Also played the arcade version. The SNES port is good, but the arcade is the place to play Final Fight. Speedball 2 Brutal Deluxe on the Amiga, or that's the version I played. Brilliant game. Dave and I played some 2-player co-op on the channel. This game has aged so well. It's still a lot of fun to play. Check it out, Speedball 2. So, number 76 next. This is like Christmas with your advent calendars. You're looking forward to what little chocolate treat you've got waiting under the door. Here we go. What treat have we got next? Far Cry 3, the best Far Cry in my opinion. This is a brilliant video game. It's a great first-person shooter. Lots to like about this game. I don't think it's overly silly like Far Cry got, in my opinion. I like the antagonist. Was it Vaas? And the voice actor, who was the guy obviously from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, Michael something. Anyway, yeah, Far Cry 3 has to be on my top 100 games of all time, simply because I've played through that game a few times now, and I don't always do that. It's brilliant. WWF WrestleFest. Everyone's video game list needs, or top 100 list, or top 50, or top 3, but they need a wrestling game in there. Now, disclaimer, I'm not a fan of wrestling. I had a passing interest when I was a kid. It's a bit like Father Christmas. When I found out it wasn't real, it was over for me. I hate Christmas now, and I don't like wrestling anymore. I love Christmas, but wrestling, meh. But the game, WrestleFest, was fantastic. I featured it on the channel. That's the footage you'll see here. Loads of fun. My memories with this game is when I went abroad with my grandparents to Ibiza. No, Tenerife. Mallorca. Got there in the end. And I played a lot of this in a cafe there. Basically, that's all I did with my spending money was play WrestleFest. Has to be on the list. Next up, Forza Motorsport 2, or Forza Motorsport 2. In my opinion, the best Forza because of memories. I played a lot of this game. Absolutely brilliant. I don't like where the series has gone since. Forza 3, some would argue, or Forza 4, much better games. Probably you're right there, but again, memories for me. Played so much of this. Forza 2. Next up, Kickoff 2. So as I'm recording this video, Kickoff 2 went up on the channel today. So yeah, Amiga is where I played this. One of the most influential football games of all time, or at the time, because I think this did influence Sensible Soccer, but I don't know on the timelines between the two games. Sensible Soccer is a better game, but Kickoff 2, I'm going to use the word again, memories, still plays a fantastic game of football. Hard as balls, though. Number 72, What's Under the Door? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. The arcade version specifically, although the SNES did get a very good port of this, I think. Brilliant. Just a brilliant game, played with 3 other people if you wanted to, good co-op gaming, just good honest arcade brawling, but with the Turtles characters, and when this did come out, Turtles was extremely big business here in the UK, I'm sure it was in America and all the other places as well, but yeah, you couldn't get the action figures for love nor money, so this game was like, got to play it, I just got to play it, I was a young kid, loved Turtles, loved the Turtles cartoon, loved this game. Next up, Xenon 2 Mega Blast, the game with the best soundtrack or the best music ever. Maybe not, but it's still up there. Xenon 2 on the Amiga in my case, brilliant game. One of the best shmups of all time, has to be on here. What's next then? Number 70. GoldenEye 007. Now, this is another one of those games which has not aged well. I went back to this recently. Horrible to play. It came bundled with my N64. I must have just spent way too many late nights playing this, having the friends round, doing the 4-player thing, so you've all got a corner of the screen each. One of you just camping out, taking everyone out. It's just brilliant memories, good times, brilliant game. The Hobbit. So this was a text adventure on the ZX Spectrum. Again, not one of the best games ever. A lot of memories for me. Used to play this, my mum would help me with it, solve certain puzzles, and it was just a time, a place where text adventures were big business on the ZX Spectrum, and they used to kind of give me my escape from the real world. I actually felt like I was in these universes that I was exploring, more in my mind than anything. But yeah, The Hobbit needs to be on here. Next up, number 68 is Syndicate. There you go, I remembered that before I revealed it, guys. Syndicate, I won't spend too much time on this game. It's like a real-time strategy game on the Amiga, really cool. I thought it was ahead of its time. I never knew what I was doing in there, though. Next up, number 67, The Last of Us Part 2. Now, this game divides opinion. Some people didn't like it at all because of some of the stuff that happens in the story early on, without spoiling it for anyone who's thinking of playing this game. Still one of my favourite games of all time. Yes, I prefer the first game, but just the way that Naughty Dog, the developer, tell a story, just so good, and I absolutely love Last of Us Part 2. Next, to feature on my top 100 games of all time, Inside. So, I think this is developed by the same people who brought us Limbo. I was going to say, is it Playdead? But you would have noticed an edit there. I went away and checked. It was Playdead, the developer, who did bring us Limbo as well. Not quite as intriguing as Limbo, but a fantastic little platformer puzzler type game, but really dark, atmospheric ambience, and yeah. I love the way you have to kind of just work out the story for yourself. It doesn't tell you anything. And it's just super. I think it's a work of art Inside, as is Limbo. Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins on the Nintendo Game Boy, one of my favourite Mario games, one of the, if not the best game on the Nintendo Game Boy. Just brilliant, a brilliant platformer. Could play this again and again and never get bored. Love the big chunky sprites compared to Super Mario Land 1, which I thought was a disappointment. So yeah, this has to be on here. Number 64. International Superstar Soccer. Here we go. I think this is the first ISS or PES game featured on this video. SNES version specifically. Love this game. Who doesn't? This and ISS Deluxe. It's where it all started for me. Konami football games were just like, yeah, there was just nothing like them for me. And then obviously I went on to enjoy the PES games, etc. After this, has to be on my top 100. Moving on to number 63. World Championship Snooker on the Sony PlayStation, the PS1. Brilliant video game. Used to spend so many late nights playing this with friends. This is another one of those memory entries. Loved the commentary in it. Just so good. Bit of a steep learning curve, or at least there was for me at the beginning, but when you do get to grips with it, just nothing like it. In my opinion, still one of the best snooker games of all time. Moving on. The Simpsons. So this will be the Simpsons arcade game, very similar to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in time. I prefer the Simpsons arcade game to the Turtles one, only just because of the characters and stuff, the humor. Brilliant video game. That's all that needs to be said. It's a brilliant video game. Next up, 61, Return to Castle Wolfenstein. This is another memories game. When I first bought the Xbox, I bought 2 games with it, or one was bundled with it, Halo Combat Evolved, and also this. Oh, I lie, there was 3, and Project Gotham Racing 2. But anyway, this was the first ever game I took online on the Xbox, and I had loads of guys from America talking to me on the headset. This was before the days of Xbox getting toxic online. It was loads of friendly American dudes all talking me through the game and what I needed to do with my character and where to stand and that kind of thing. It was quite strategic. Fantastic memories. I loved this online. Never touched the single player. Next up, Secret of Mana on the SNES, brilliant game. As I'm recording this, I think we've got Return to Mana. Is it the sequel? Is it called Return to Mana? Hitting the PS5. But anyway, the first game, Secret of Mana, I can't get my words out. I'm getting very excited now. It's good talking about video games. This is fun. Secret of Mana is the only other turn-based video game that I really love. Brilliant story, really likeable characters, beautiful art style needs to be on this list. Next up, Wipeout 2097. So I was referencing good video game soundtracks with Xenon 2. Well, this is the one. So many good artists come together to make, or not make this game, but to make the soundtrack for this game. Brilliant memories, like such a good video game in its own right. Even if it had no soundtrack, it would still stand out as a video game. It's brilliant. Next up is GTA Vice City. Some people's favourite GTA. Rockstar really went to town with this. There's some famous voice actors, or there's many of them. Even the protagonist is voiced by the late, great Ray Liotta. Rest in peace, Ray Liotta, very sad. Incredible game in my opinion. I loved the art style in this. I'm a big fan of the 80s and 80s music because I am a child of the 80s, and that has an influence on me when it comes to video games, especially the GTA games, and this is why I prefer Vice City to San Andreas. Brilliant video game. Next up, number 57, The Sims. Specifically the PS1 version. Many of you will be like, the PS1 version, the PC was the place to play this. I've never played it on the PC. I played this, like I say, co-op with a friend. Many late nights, staying up in my flat or in my apartment, playing The Sims, getting annoyed with each other because one of us kept sleeping in for work, like not in real life, but in The Sims. Our Sims kept sleeping in. I think it was PS1 or PS2, just absolutely hooked. Spent way too much time on this game, and has to be on the list. Target Renegade, the first ever brawler I played. If you like Final Fight and that kind of game, then this is the game for you. I played it on the ZX Spectrum. I do think it's a port from the arcade. I've never played the arcade version. Next up, number 55, LMA Manager. I featured this on a channel recently, kind of. Was it last year? It doesn't matter. LMA Manager was another game I spent with that very same friend I was talking about earlier when it comes to The Sims. We'd play this until the wee early hours. I'd always be managing Man United, he'd manage Arsenal, and we'd turn our stadiums into like monster mega stadiums with cheese stores in there and craft ales and all that kind of stuff that the Spurs stadium's got now. Brilliant video game and lots of memories. Next up, number 54, Skate 3, the best skateboarding game of all time, question mark? Well, we'll see where this video takes us. I still play this game today via backwards compatibility on my Series X. It was on Game Pass last I checked. It's still sitting on my Xbox hard drive. Just so satisfying. It's like a Simcade skateboarder, and yeah, just nothing like it, but there might be another skate game to feature on this video. Let's see. Next up is Cannon Fodder. Cannon Fodder was a game I played on the Amiga for countless hours. If you know nothing about it, it's kind of a point and click. You control a little army of troops and you basically have to kill the enemy by clicking on the enemy with a mouse. Very simplistic in design. The humour in here was quite risque actually, even for its time. Has to be on my list due to the memories. Perfect Dark at number 52. This is another one that's aged really bad though, guys. Really bad. I tried playing this a few days ago because I forget how it controlled. I had to turn it off. Awful. There are different control layouts for it, but I can never find one that I like. Has to be on here though. Played a lot of this game. Next up, 51. Streets of Rage 2, the best brawler of all time in my opinion. Some people argue Final Fight, not for me. Streets of Rage 2, exclusive to the Sega Genesis or the Mega Drive as we know it. Even better if you've got a friend to play some co-op with. Absolutely love Streets of Rage 2. Right, we're halfway through the video now, guys. Number 50, Beneath a Steel Sky, a point-and-click adventure that I played a lot on the I played a lot on the Amiga, not the PC. There is a PC version. The Amiga version doesn't have speech. The PC version does, but I think there's an Amiga version. Dave has told me this. Big shout out to Dave. There is an Amiga version with speech as well. It might have been the Amiga CD32 version of the game. I featured this on the channel. It's absolutely brilliant. Next up, number 49, Super Mario Bros. 2. So, not Lost Levels, but the Mario Bros. 2 we had here in the PAL regions, which is obviously a reskin, if you like, of Doki Doki Panic. Absolutely love this game. This is still very playable to this day. One of my favourite games of all time. Well, it's in my top 50. Has to be on here. Next up, let's have a look, guys. ActRaiser on the SNES. This is an action RPG of sorts. Really, really interesting game because you have the side-scrolling fighty bits, but you also have like a god type, populous type mode in there as well. Whenever I talk about the SNES, I always have to bring up ActRaiser. Great memories, great game. Batman Arkham Asylum. Now, this is the best Batman game out of the Rocksteady developed games, in my opinion. I didn't like Arkham City as much. Arkham Knight was okay. Arkham Asylum, I preferred its more linear design. I don't think the open world vibe suited Batman. I know that sounds weird because it should work. Arkham Asylum, you didn't have to worry about an open world. There wasn't one. There was just a nice big linear map to explore and try and work out what the hell you were supposed to do. Lots of cool stealth mechanics, like hanging upside down from Gollum statues. One of my favourite games of all time. Has to be played, has to be on this video. Next up, Dark Souls, the original Dark Souls. More so in my case, Dark Souls Remastered. On a PS4 Pro is where I played this game and finished it, I'm proud to say. I will go back to this game from time to time. Very, very difficult. From Software at their best. Dark Souls, the original Dark Souls, is slow and methodical. It hasn't got the quicker combat of Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne. You need to take your time, you need to really work out what the hell the game is about, and when it clicks, there's nothing like it. Okay, we are getting there now, guys. What's under the next door? SimCity, and specifically the SNES version, which is a bit odd to say, but that's where I first played this game. I borrowed it from a kid in school, played a ton of it, lots of memories. I loved any sort of sim game back in the day. Has to be on this video. Next up at number 44 is Tekken 2, one of the best beat-em-ups of all time. You all know Tekken 2. Just, yeah, fantastic video game. Tomb Raider at 43. Now, I know I'm flying through these a little bit now, guys, but like I say, I don't want the video being like 4 hours long. We all know about Tomb Raider. It's not aged well. The controls, the tanky controls are bad. I still am yet to play the remake. I need to check that out. Apparently it's not very good, but Tomb Raider has to be on my top 100. I was obsessed. I was addicted to this game when I first bought the PS1. Number 42, Mortal Kombat. One of the best beat-em-ups of all time. Just so good. I'm still so bad at this game. I still can't work out the combos for the characters, but the graphics just blew my mind at the time. I love how dark it is and how, yeah, just the finishes that you can execute people with and that kind of thing. Brilliant, brilliant series. Number 41... Tony Hawk's Underground. This is the best skateboarding game of all time. I've decided. It took me... I had to sleep on this, is what I'm trying to say. Skate 3 was up here, and Tony Hawk's was down there. But I reversed them. Because I think Tony Hawk's Underground's got everything for me. It's got the customization. It's got the playability. It's got the brilliant soundtrack. It's got the open world to explore. It's got loads and loads of stuff to do. Absolutely brilliant video game. Number 40... Splinter Cell. One of the best stealth games of all time. One of them. I loved Splinter Cell when it first hit the PS1 is where I played it, I think. Or PS2. Might have been PS2. We need a remake. We were supposed to be getting a reboot or a remake of Splinter Cell, but that's gone quiet. I think they cancelled it. I don't know. Moving on. 39, Ninja Gaiden. We've all played Ninja Gaiden. Well, most people have. Hard as balls. The level design is special in Ninja Gaiden. I find it a bit difficult going back and playing it today. Probably because I played so much of it back in the day. But it has to be on there. Number 38. Tetris. I won't touch this game anymore because I don't need to. I've seen it. I've been there, man. I was there with the Game Boy. Co-op. Linked up to my brother's Game Boy. Us playing co-op head to head. Has to be, I think, on every single person in the world's top games list if anyone wants to compile them, of course. Has to be, because it's just such an addictive video game. And like I say, I don't play it anymore, but it has to be on here because I poured hundreds of hours into Tetris. Number 37, let's see what's under the door. Sonic, the first Sonic the Hedgehog game. So good. I saw this for the first time in a little indie game shop, and I was an owner of the NES, I think. I don't think I had a SNES yet. And I saw this game running on an old CRT set. Loads of kids gathered around it. It blew my mind. Big, colourful sprite. It still looks gorgeous to this day. We all know what Sonic's gone on to achieve after this. And yeah, has to be on there. 36. Red Dead Redemption 1, the first game. Although Red Dead Revolver is obviously the first game in the timeline when it comes to the story, Red Dead Redemption is such a good video game. I have to hold my hands up. When I first played it, I weren't sure. I weren't sure at all. It took a while to click for me. When it clicked, I was addicted. Brilliant story, intriguing story actually, and just a fun game to play. Okay, what's 35? Dark Souls 2 is at number 35. Look at that. My favourite Dark Souls game. Now, it's a very strange thing to say. Anyone who's been involved with the Dark Souls community who is watching this video will know that Dark Souls 2 is more often than not thought as the worst Dark Souls game, because they changed the undead mechanic, or rather, yeah, you have to be human to get that's such a weird thing to say, but in the game you have to be human to get the best out of it, but a lot of the time you're running around like a zombie because you're the undead. In a nutshell, it's difficult to explain what I mean because I'm not good at explaining things. I love Dark Souls 2. It's the first Dark Souls I played. There's something about this game that always keeps me going back to it, and you can build some really cool overpowered magic builds in Dark Souls 2. Basically, magic is the way to play this game if it's your first time with a Souls game, because magic is overpowered essentially, and that's why I love it. I like being overpowered in the Souls games. Next up, 34. Sensible World of Soccer. The Xbox 360 version for me is what I played. I know it was on the Amiga as well, I think. But I played it, like I say, on the 360. Loads of good memories. It still plays a fantastic game of soccer ball to this day. Check it out if you haven't played this. It's a lot of fun. Next up, Elite Dangerous. This was a late addition to the list. Elite Dangerous is a space exploration simulator, and I only played it for the first time about a month ago as I'm recording this. I'm hooked. I play too much of this game, guys. It's not very good on console, but on PC, this is incredible. It's an incredible game. It literally is the size, or the map is the size of our Milky Way. And I'm not exaggerating that. Read up on it. Check it out. It's usually on sale on Steam. It's fantastic. It's not for everyone. It has to be in my top 100 games of all time. And obviously, we did have the really old-ass Elite game, I think, on the Spectrum back in the day. So it does go back in regards to its history, its backstory as a video game series. But yeah, Elite Dangerous on PC, just so good. Next up, Star Wars Battlefront 2, but the PS2 version. Or in my case, Xbox. I think I played a lot of this on the Xbox back in the day. Oh my days, this is just so much fun. It's a load of fun single player. It's also so much fun if you've got a friend to play with. Way too many hours spent with Battlefront 2 back in the day. Has to be in the top 100 list. Next up, Super Mario Kart on the SNES. This is another one of those obvious entries that most people, or yeah, a lot of people would have on their top 50s or top 100 lists of video games. Brilliant game, very influential, and spawned all the kart races that we've had since. Resident Evil 2, one of the best video games of all time. It's a masterpiece. Both the original on the PS1, it was PS1, not PS2. I always get my PS1 and PS2 mixed up. Anyway, yeah, both the original and the remake we had in recent years, they're both sublime. I would even argue that the remake is even better. And I must say, before I forget, Resident Evil 4, most people's favourite Resi, will not appear on this top 100 list. I haven't played it, so I can't put a game on a list which I haven't played. It's sitting on my Xbox Series X. I need to start that game soon. Same applies to Mario Odyssey. That won't feature on this video either. Again, I haven't played it, so I need to try that as well. So yeah, just a disclaimer there, guys. Let's move on here. 29. Limbo. So I mentioned Inside earlier in the video. Limbo is the better game. One of my favourite indie games of all time, if you want to call it an indie game. Well, it is. It's cheap. It was cheaper than your usual games. Developed by Playdead. You play as a boy, and yeah, you got to figure out what's happened to his sister. I think that's right. I played it again actually last year, and it's so good. So good. So dark. There's a story to be told here, but it doesn't tell you a lot. You got to dig around and work things out for yourself. It's a beautiful experience. Next up, number 28, Lotus Turbo Challenge 2, one of my favourite Amiga video games of all time, not just races. Dave introduced me to Top Gear 2 on the SNES recently. That nearly made my top 100 list, but I don't have any memories with that game like Dave does, but it is more or less Lotus Turbo Challenge 2, but I'm going to stick with this. But what's under number 27? Battlefield Bad Company 2, one of the best first-person shooters of all time. It is the best Battlefield game in my opinion. Another memories game for me on Xbox 360. So much fun, but also a really good, long, lengthy, fleshed out single-player campaign. In a first-person shooter, you're having a laugh. Yes. Well, no, I'm not having a laugh. It's true. Anyway, it wins number 27. What's under 26 here? Street Fighter 2. We all know about Street Fighter 2. I first saw this in the arcade way back in the day. Then obviously we got the SNES port, but the arcade version of Street Fighter 2 still extremely playable, and the rest is history. 25, Mario Kart 64, the best Mario Kart game, in my opinion. This was another one of those games, 4 players on the N64, you've all got a corner of the TV screen each. Rainbow Road, happy days, or happy nights in our case. Mega Man 2, brilliant video game, one of the best games on the NES, one of them. My brother and I tell this story on the channel a lot, my brother and I, the first games we bought for the I nearly said SNES, for the NES were Mega Man 2 and Super Mario 2, and I wanted this, and my brother preferred my game, which was Mario 2. So we basically swapped, even though we shared the NES. It was all pointless. But they've all made the top 100, so everyone's happy in the end. What's under 23? PGR 4, Project Gotham Racing 4, one of the best races, if not the best races ever, or on the Xbox 360. So much fun. I always reference Dave, but Dave and I used to have many late Friday and Saturday nights playing this game online. It has to be on my top 100. Number 22, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the best Sonic game. I don't think that's controversial to say. Absolute masterpiece of a platformer. I still play this game today and still enjoy that game today. ISS Pro Evolution 2 at number 21. When I first played this on the PS1, my life changed, and it changed for the better. Football gaming became serious. And this is another one of those games which is both memories but also an incredible football video game. And it still plays a really good game of football even here and now in 2024. Okay, number 20. Here we go, guys. The top 20. We're there. My voice is going. Well, it's not. My throat hurts. Not my voice, it's my throat. Anyway, you don't care about that. You want to know, don't you? You're desperate to find out. I can feel it in the ether, in the air. Number 20, Star Wars Galaxies. Now, this game made me buy a laptop. It forced me. It used the Force to make me buy a new laptop way back in the day, and it made me invest in cable broadband, which is still quite a new thing at the time. So I had cable broadband installed just for this video game, and it's quite sad looking back, but spent a lot of time playing it. One of the best Star Wars games of all time. I know you can play it again as a community-driven server, or a community-created server, I should say. Next up is Red Dead Redemption 2. One of the best single-player experiences I've ever had. We're not talking about the online side, because it was terrible in my opinion. It was more like a movie of sorts, or a TV series. Some people didn't like how slow and heavy and clunky the protagonist felt to control. I love this game. I finished it within a week or so. Like, I just played it day and night. I want to go back to it and play it again to see if I still feel the same. I'm sure I will. Gorgeous world as well. What a world Rockstar created. It just felt and looked alive. It felt real. Next up, Deus Ex Human Revolution. This is a game that I was addicted to. A game set in that universe always wins me over anyway, because I love the cyberpunk theme. I've talked about this on the channel so many times, but I'm interested in that, in those environments, that kind of atmosphere, the neon lit back streets, and the story that went with it was just a special video game on the Xbox 360. A lot of good memories for me. It was a good time in my life as well. Number 17, Pro Evolution Soccer 3. I had the demo before I played the full game. I've talked about it too many times on the channel. I won't bore you all, but yeah, basically when I did get round to buying the full game, that was it for me. At the time, once I played PES 3, there was no going back to FIFA ever again. In my head, anyway, even though I eventually do go back to FIFA afterwards, PES 3 was everything. PES 3 was life. Next up, Super Mario 64. We all know about this video game. My favourite, or one of my favourite Mario games. Some people still aren't too sure on Mario 64, but for me, it was revolutionary at the time. Just an absolute masterpiece of a game. Next up, 2010 FIFA World Cup South Africa, the best FIFA game. And it's one of those games I bought without expecting anything. And I always remember installing it on the 360 and just like being blown away at how good the gameplay was, and EA have never reached the heights of this game since. Next up, number 14, Metal Gear Solid, the PS1, not the dodgy Game Boy Color version. This went on to spawn so many different stealth games, and it blew me away. It was ahead of its time. A really interesting story in there as well. I need to play the remakes, but I don't know if they're any good. So if you can let me know as an aside, if you let me know in the replies if you think the remakes are worth investing in. If not, I need to go back to the PS1 version and play Metal Gear Solid. Has to be on my top, in this case, in my top 20. Next up, GTA 5. I played the 360 version, I played the PS4 version, I played it on the Series X, I played it on the Nokia N-Gage. It's everywhere. It's still going, or GTA Online is, from a single player perspective, and GTA Online is a load of fun as well. Has to be on my top 100. Like, it's so good. Is it the best GTA game? We'll see. The Secret of Monkey Island at number 12. A point-and-click adventure on the Amiga. Got a remake last year as I'm recording this. I think it was last year. Incredible game. Extremely funny. Lots and lots of memories of visiting my grandmother. I didn't own the Amiga at the time, but the kid opposite my grandmother's house, who she used to babysit at the time, be like, Mike, come in, play this game, play this video game, take a look. It was Monkey Island. I'd never seen anything like it before. It made me want to buy the Amiga, and eventually I do end up getting the Amiga just because of this game. Next up, F1 2020. This is high up in my list, and that's because it's a game I go back to time and time and time again. Not just one of the best, or the best F1 games of all time, one of the best racers of all time. Incredibly fun, and just Codemasters. What happened? Next up, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This makes the top 10. So here we are, guys. Everything that's come before this, it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter. We're in the top 10. Yeah. I don't know what I'm saying. My throat's really hurting now. I hope I'm not coming down with something. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, when I first played it, blew my mind. This is the type of game, though, you'll see at Reddit where people say, I don't see what the fuss is about. It's just lots of running around and nothing happening. That's true to an extent. I love how open-ended everything felt. It doesn't hold your hand. Classical Zelda, there's no difficulty options. You can't just slide it down to easy to complete a bit you're struggling with. It throws you in, it lets you explore, and it lets the story unfold, and it's a work of art. I still haven't played Tears of the Kingdom. There you go, there's another game. It's sitting on my Switch, looking at me. I will start it soon, I promise. But I still haven't played it. It's not on this video. Next up, Cyberpunk 2077. Had a rough start, didn't it? It goes without saying, I had a really rough launch. I played it at launch. I didn't think it was as bad as some people were making out, but I did, or I was playing the Series X version. I think if you played this on PS4 and Xbox One, it looked like a potato. And does that even make sense? It looked like a potato. We'll make it make sense. These days, though, if you play this game now, they've spent a lot of time and love with this game. It needed more time in the oven. And since its release in 2020, 4 years later, it's a masterpiece. One of the best RPGs, action RPGs of all time, in my opinion. It's better than GTA 5 because, yes, you can jump in and drive around in cars and stuff, but it's dark and it's broody and it's brooding? Broody? I don't know. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Incredible video game. I need to go and play that now, tonight. I need to start it again. This is another game, by the way, and the DLC I've played through a few times, and it's very rare I do that. If a game is good, I'll complete it more than once, basically. Right, GTA 4. There you go, the best GTA game of all time. Most of us have played it, very controversial. I like how gritty and serious the story was. It wasn't overly silly, even though it was funny in places. I like the car handling model more than GTA 5. It's a bit more realistic. And I love the setting of New York City or Liberty City. And it's just a brilliant story, a brilliant game. Cops and Crooks Online, just GTA 4. GTA 4 is the best GTA game so far, in my opinion. Number 7, Shadowrun on the SNES. So again, the setting of this game, the cyberpunk setting, kind of sways me, but the music to this game will always stay fresh in my mind. I could sing the theme tune every minute of every day because it's just always there somewhere in my mind, in my subconscious, buried. But it does rear its head from time to time. I'm talking absolute rubbish now. Shadowrun, if you haven't played it, is like an action RPG of sorts. It's a bit fiddly to play. It was ahead of its time, in my opinion. There was nothing like it. The kid who lived next door brought it round. I'd never owned it. He had one of those converters where you put the PAL cartridge in the front, and Shadowrun was the NTSC cartridge you plugged in the back. And he was like, Mike, I think you'll like this. And we played it, for hours. And I was like, oh my god, this is the best game ever. So it's my favourite, or one of my favourite games on the SNES. Incredible. Shadowrun. Number 6. Oh, we're getting close now. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. A masterpiece. It was one of those video games, when it released, it's all we all talked about in school. Everyone gathered around on the playground talking about holding chickens above your head in The Link to the Past, or A Link to the Past. Brilliant, brilliant video game. Okay, we're in the top 5 now. There we go. We're in the top 5. At number 5, Bloodborne. From Software. It's a Souls game. It's a masterpiece. I love the gothic Victorian vibe, or the aesthetic. I love how hard it is, or how challenging it is. I've played and finished Bloodborne 4 times. I never do that with video games, guys. I simply don't have the time to do it for a start. I have with Bloodborne. It blew my mind. It blew my mind when I first played that game. Number 4, The Last of Us. My favourite character acting from any video game ever. Like, it's just like being involved in a movie. I love the pacing of everything. I love how there's no clutter or no HUD on the screen. The actual gameplay is very good, but it's a journey, and it's just incredible. Like Bloodborne, this is another game I must have played and finished 4 or 5 times. It's just so good. Please, if you haven't played it, just try it. Just try it. It's very, very good. Well, it's better than very good. It makes my top 5. Okay, we're into the top 3 territory now. What's at number 3? Pro Evolution Soccer 5. Might surprise a few regulars. You might have thought that would be my number 1. PES 5, the best football game of all time. And when I'm talking about, I must have played Bloodborne and Last of Us and finished those 4 times, 5 times. PES 5, I must have played for thousands of hours. In my lifetime now. Thousands of hours. And I'm not exaggerating. Just a masterpiece of a football game, a masterpiece of a video game, full stop. But what's at number 2? Super Mario Bros. 3. Now, some will argue, why isn't PES 5 higher than that? You've played more of that, surely, than Mario 3. Mario 3 had an impact on me as a kid. It made me want to work in the video game industry, even though that never really come to fruition. It made me sit and draw maps, like fake Mario maps, and send them to Nintendo for a future, for a possible future Mario game, that kind of thing. It kind of influenced me. It shaped me, and I know that sounds pretentious and a bit dramatic. This game is special. It's a masterpiece. but it's not my favourite video game of all time. What is my favourite video game of all time? What's the winner here? Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 is one of those video games that people will say, I don't see what the fuss is about. I respect that. I love the silent protagonist. I love the level design. I love the gunplay. I love the way it tells its story. This game I must have finished 5, 6, 7 times. And I could go and play through it again now. If Half-Life 3 was announced tonight, I would cry, probably. Because it's never going to be. But Half-Life 2, it's all been said before. You either love it or you hate it, I think. I absolutely adore Half-Life 2. That's my top 100 games of all time. Let me know what you think of the list, guys. Let me know what you'd add to it, or you're surprised that I haven't added, because there might be 1 or 2 games. There are a few games I did have to take away from the list, which just missed out. But a lot of this, like I say, is nostalgia. A lot of it is memories. A lot of it, they're just simply good video games. And it's taken me a while to compile this list, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's been a bit all over the place. I haven't followed a script. But my throat is sore now, guys, so I'm off for a lie down. And Man United have just lost to Liverpool 3-0, so I definitely need to lie down. I'll speak to you all soon.